Greetings and salutations, everyone. Again, this is Silent J with Surf Tectonics with part 4 of the Star Trek Scrap Model episodes. So these are heavy battle cruisers, purpose-built combat ships. And these 6 ships, I'll just go over the names of them first. And why they're called the Royale class is because, well, the saucer section is made from a poker chip instead of a stool coaster. So this one right here is the USS Las Vegas. This one is the USS Reno. This is the USS Luxor. Right here is the USS Bellagio. This is the USS Harris. And this is the USS Sahara. So just to look at the scale, we'll look at the Las Vegas. And we're comparing it once again to our Falcon BFR rocket of 124 meters. So this ship, 1 centimeter equals 33 meters. So this one is 11.5 meters, which comes out to 379.5 meters. Now to briefly go over the armaments, these ships are also covered in ablative hull armor, but not as thick as the Exor class, which had an average of 13 meters of ablative hull armor. These Royale classes have an average of 5 to 6 meters of ablative hull armor casing, giving them a little bit more speed and maneuverability. So these ships were built in the 2270s and came online 2280s, 2290s, the same time as the Excelsior, and that is the reason for the increase in size because of the enhanced warp and the transwarp. So they had the enhanced warp 8.5 and the transwarp 9.25. Alright, so now we'll just look at the USS Las Vegas and what I used to build this. So the top ventral view, you can see it was the poker chip, and I just used a marker, and then also this right here, I used a blue marker for the phaser strips, and then a red marker there for the impulse engine, and also added a screw back there for the impulse engine. And then the cells are also the inner mechanisms of mechanical pencils. And then there's 2 aft-facing megaphasers, which are just toothpicks that I painted green on the top with some type of marker. And then this is actually a metal washer for more ablative armor around the top section, and this is the also top of a thumbtack push pin, because in these ships the bridges are in the center of the saucer section, they're not towards the top. So for the side view here, let me turn on the light. Okay, so we can see that a little bit better. So you can see the secondary hull down there. That is the top of a pin. And then the pocket clip for the pin is the third nacelle, which would be the transwarp stabilizer nacelle. So this one has the capability of transwarp. And then these are actually matchsticks for the side phaser banks, covered in blue metallic marker. Looks like I used some type of plastic apparatus to connect the nacelle to the secondary hull. As you can see, most of these ships I made it so they have a small profile, not much of a neck section. And then you can see this is a zip tie on the side of the nacelle. So this is supposed to be a phaser strip, which looks like the blue marker. So yeah, that's basically it for the side section. And then also on the bottom here, there's a mega phaser array, which I believe is the top of a pin cover. You see that in the other angle. For the ventral system, so I also use some zip ties for the pylons there, and there is also some type of metal things I use for the pylons. If we come up here, you can see that clear part is the top of a pin where you can see I just used the eraser from the mechanical pencil to make the deflector dish. Red marker I used there. And then there's 3 torpedo launchers on the bottom, which the one just above the deflector dish is the inside of a pin where the ink is dried out, those tubes. And these 2 white ones, I believe those are Q-tips. Some Q-tips, if you cut them in half, they have little holes in them. And then you can see that mega phasers array right there. And then also on the bottom, I just colored with a blue metallic marker the phaser strips, and then additional phaser strips on the front and sides of the saucer, top and bottom. And then for the aft section, you can see, yeah, I use zip ties and those pylons. Those are actually staples to make the shape of the pylon, and then I use some other plastic things to make them thicker. And also it has a rear facing torpedo tube launcher, and then on the bottom of the pylons near the staple there, those are 2 toothpicks I use to stabilize the pylons, which are also rear facing phaser banks. And then the shuttle bay is just the top of the pin cover. And then for the rear of the nacelles, to give the glowing warp effects, those are just those little circle glitter things, and I added a little extra layer of red to them. So yeah, it's just a lot of tinker around with parts. You can see like most of the secondary hull is made out of pin parts, mechanical pencil parts, pin cap, inside of a mechanical pencil, and some other random things. So yeah, that's pretty much it without going into too much more detail. I don't like to turn on the light because it just shows the faults in my marker paint jobs. I guess that's the other downfall of these homemade models, is they're kind of hard to make a perfect color with marker. So also when you use a poker chip for the saucer section, it becomes a little front heavy, unlike the coasters where you can get a little bit better balance out of it. Yep, so these ships are pretty much the same design, just this one has 2 toothpicks. The Reno has 2 toothpicks on the top for a couple extra mega phasers. This has some extra phaser banks. The only difference is these upgraded Constitution classes, I know I've shown this before, on the bottom they're upgraded to have those mega phaser cannons, the predecessor to the TNG Dreadnought. Same with this one, the upgraded Constitution battleship. Also was used to as a mega phaser cannon or hyper phaser cannon. I can't remember the exact name of them, but yep. And you can see that one was made from a pin cap, a larger pin cap, and this one was made from a big pin cap. So yep, that's pretty much it. Yeah, this thing just has a couple extra phaser strips on the top, and those are actually plastic forks. So yeah. So that is the heavy battle cruisers. And what we went over before, the Exodus class, which are the battleships. And I should probably make my next video on the fleets, the Starfleet Expeditionary Force combat fleets. And eventually I'll probably start on the Klingon ships next. I guess the advantage to making these ships yourself is you don't have to pay for them. And if you enjoy making models, I mean, you have to pay a little bit for glue and markers, I suppose. Probably the most expensive tool is the metallic silver markers, because for whatever reason, those run out really quick. They're really finicky, but they're somewhat sturdy. If you drop them, probably the nacelles will fall off or something. You have to glue them back together. And of course, over time, the super glue degrades on some parts, and if you grab them, they'll kind of just chip off. So it's mostly just for display. So if you're really into making models, I would just suggest a 3D printer, because once you make a 3D printed ship, that's definitely not gonna break or eagle moss. But if you want to make your own unique designs, which you can tinker around with and just display, this is definitely probably the way to go. But you just gotta remember they're for display only, not really to handle around. And if you have one of your friend's kids come over, they could just grab one and crush it with one little grab. So they definitely gotta hide them from kids and cats. I don't know, dogs don't really mess with shells. So yeah, yeah, if you want to just have a free hobby, like I said, you can make these out of just about anything. But if you really want to do the 3D printer thing, have a model that lasts basically forever, unless you step on it or something, I would do the 3D printer. But yep, there you go. Have a good one, Star Nerds.